Hello, good evening, everyone. Hope you are doing great. Kindly drop a chat to let me know that you can hear me perfectly. If you can hear the sound of my voice, is it possible for you to confirm via chat or by giving me a sign? Thanks for the confirmation. Let's also use the chat and see so that we have the confirmation that the platform is working for all of you. Thank you, Mr. Nedu. Good evening. Awesome. Thank you, Ruth, for your feedback. That's great. All right. So you are welcome. We are so happy to have you today. And today is a bit special because it's the last revision of the season before the face of the new PMP exam will be unveiled. That is exactly on the 9th of July. So I'm sure all of you connected, you are definitely either writing this week or you are a potential candidate. But before maybe you get more info on that, can you please let us know? We are currently 34 on the call. I'm here with an expert. She will have the time to introduce herself. My name is Mimi Christian Yaore. I'm working with PMI as the chapter engagement partner for West and Central Africa. And today I'm coordinating the session. I'm based in Abidjan, Ivory Coast. Today we had a good weather. And I would like to also know where you are connecting from so that we welcome you. We always celebrate Africa when we have the opportunity to meet on this platform. Oh yeah, the session will still be beneficial, Nidu. Don't worry, Susan will share more light on that. So let us know where you are connecting from. We want to know where you are hiding, on which part of the globe you are connecting, from which part of the globe you are connecting. Let us know with the flag of your country. Hello from Rwanda. Hey, hello from Zambia, Lusaka, awesome. Hey, Mr. Tai Musa from Gombe State, Nigeria. My first time to hear about this state. That's great. That's great. PMI has reached out to you there. Hello from South Africa, from Ghana. Hello, Ohini. I hope I got it right. Hello from South Africa. Hope you are doing well. Francis AJ from Accra, Ghana. Yeah, Onesmus from Kenya. Evelyn from Abidjan. Bonsoir. Pacom de la Côte d'Ivoire. Bonsoir. Ivra from Kigali. Hello. Abayomi. Today, our instructor is also live from Nigeria. So maybe you have the opportunity to connect. Bonsoir, Ramatoulaye du Sénégal. Today, I would have loved the session to be in French. Hello, Armel de Libreville, but we'll all switch to an English session. I guess that is also going to give us the opportunity to open up. Hello from Uganda. Bonsoir depuis le Burkina Ouagadougou. Let it come. Let us know where you are connecting from. We are going to start shortly. We just want to give an opportunity to those closing from work or maybe rushing in the traffic to join us so that at least we'll have maximum participation. But our instructor is ready to deliver, ready to impart knowledge to us. So let's keep coming. Hello from River State. That's awesome. So beyond where you are connecting from, we can see that Africa is represented. We can see Ahiba from Sudan, South Sudan. That's great. Juba, hello from there. Let us know for those writing soon. When are you writing? When are you writing? We have a culture, we have a custom, for people to pay. When you see your twin, when it comes to the dates of your exam, you just connect with that person so that you pray together before going and pass your exam. So let us know. You never know. You can find a prayer partner or a study partner if you are writing soon. So let us know when you are writing. When are you planning to kill the exam, the PMP exam? Let us know so that we'll say a prayer for you. Okay, Amon is writing in August. Awesome. All the best in your preparation. Today's session will also be beneficial. Aiba, 29th of July, Onesmus, 17th of July, Léonce Fabien, 4th, August 4th. That's great. That's great. Hazel, 24th October. Awesome. Chineye is writing in August. Still praying. Esther, are you still praying about the exact dates? No worries. I'm sure you have the exact dates soon. Abayomi is writing on the 23rd of July. That's great. That's great. Is there anyone writing this week? You want to know? Maybe tomorrow, maybe on Thursday. Shabalala is writing in September. Roots in August, 31st August. Okay, all the best. Jackson in September. That's great. That's great. So let all these dates inspire those who are still thinking, they are still figuring out whether they have to write this year or not. There is more joy in getting your PMP and changing your name, on platforms to put your name plus PMP. So that PMP is going to be part of the information on your birth certificate. So don't delay that opportunity. Gievra is writing in September. All the best. So we have the September squad, the August squad. Feel free to catch up. Feel free to link up so that you can prepare together towards this achievement. All right. So without wasting much time, today we have a very strong syllabus ahead of us, developing a shared vision and managing team conflict. So I have with me Susan. I cannot, be too bold to introduce our expert today. I prefer be a spectator. So Susan, the floor is yours. We are all ears, eager to receive knowledge from you.
Thank you, Mimi. Good afternoon from Toronto. Good evening to those of us in the later parts of the day. How are we all doing? I'm seeing a lot of my Nigerian folks, a lot of people from Senegal. I was just in Kenya a couple weeks ago. Thank you all for joining, everybody. Both the Francophone people and the Anglophone people. Sorry, I don't speak French. You'll have to translate for me. All right. So today's class, I would beg your indulgence that we all participate. And how do we participate? We're going to have several opportunities to participate. One of the my favorite ways that you can participate is we have question and answer segments of the lecture. And I will ask someone to volunteer to facilitate that part. So you'll be a co-facilitator with me today. If you have seen previous versions of this our webinar, you would see that it can be very engaging and a lot of people have an opportunity to converse. You definitely want to lend your voice to this room of international project managers from all over the world. I mean, this is a beautiful opportunity that we get to spend some time together. So please take advantage of that opportunity and, ask questions when they come to you. Even if it's not pertaining directly to the topic we're on, it could be about the exam in general. This course is for you. This is so that you are well prepared and you feel ready to take and pass the PMP exam. I see some of us have selected dates in August, in September, and some of us are writing in just a few days. I want to assure us, even if we're writing the old exam, what we are going to be discussing today will apply across board, okay? So let's talk a little bit about the changes, because I know that some of us are concerned about the changes. Excuse me. So what is changing in this new exam? Well, let's not panic too much. I'm going to share with us the content outline in the chats. Give me a second. Let me know when you've seen it. Okay, so you can have that to download. And that is the content of the new exam. This has been available to us for months now. So we knew that it was coming. It's not a surprise to us, okay? And we know that we're having some more focus on business environment. And what does this mean? It means that we're going to spend some more time talking about how projects deliver the strategic objectives of the organization and how we are able to operate within company guidelines, industry guidelines, industry environments, and how we're able to manage the complexities within our different industries. So that's just a little bit addition to what we've already been studying. We all have project management experience, otherwise we wouldn't be here at all. One of the prerequisites for writing the PMP is that you have managed projects for about 36 months consecutively, and that requirement hasn't changed. One thing to note is, yes, we're talking about people a little bit less, process a little bit less to make room for the business environment. But something to note is that we're going to be talking, or the exam is going to be testing us a bit on AI and sustainability. And this is not something completely out of context. We're going to be looking at, the exam is about, how do I put this now? It is centered on scenario based, right? It's on real world context. It's testing how would you behave in this scenario as a project manager. And so when you see in the new exam, you're going to experience some elements of the real world project context that you are expected to navigate, to talk about things like, your AI tools that you're currently using, how you evaluate your tools, how you evaluate your trade-offs, what does it mean in real situations, and then things to talk about sustainability, green projects, how we weave that into our planning, our quality, our compliance, our risk decisions. So it's a bit more practical, but it's I don't want to scare us. If you've already been preparing for this exam, you're only going to have to practice a little bit more. You're not having to learn completely new content, okay? We're not having to learn completely new content. Let me switch my screen a bit and show us from the content outline directly. And we'll see the exam content outline for July 2026. And we can see the distribution of the domains, 33% for people, 41% for processes, and 26% for the business environment. I'm just going to scroll down a bit to talk through some of the tasks that will be covered in each of these domains. And today's topic is actually task 1. Task 1 and task 2, how do we develop a common vision and how do we manage conflict, right? And so over the course of your study, you should have covered all of these topics: how to lead a project team, how to engage your stakeholders, how do you align your stakeholder expectations? Sorry, it's tiny. How do you manage them? How do you ensure knowledge transfer? How do you plan and manage communication? And under the process domain, you must have covered in your studies how to develop an integrated project management plan, how to develop and manage project scope, how to ensure value-based delivery, how to plan and manage your resources, your procurement, your finance, how to plan and optimize the quality of both your product and your deliverables, how to manage your schedule, your project status, project closure. And under the business environment domain, you'll see you have to learn how to establish project dominance, how to manage project compliance, manage and control changes, remove impediments, plan and manage risk and continuous improvement, support your organizational change, and evaluate business environment changes. So that's the basic content of what the exam is going to be testing us on. I've shared the link, so you're free to download this and have a look through to ensure that we've covered all of that. Another resource that is very important for us to have is the PMI study hall. Now, there are several sources of past questions, but remember, this is a new exam. So those past questions might be outdated. So your surest source of updated questions that are for the July 9th exam of the PMP, you can find that on your PMI study hall. Mimi, could you please help us share the link to that before the end of our class so that everyone has access to that? All right, I am done with all my plenty introductions. Thank you for bearing with me. Let's move on to the topic of the day: develop a common vision. What does this mean? What does it mean to develop a common vision? And why is it important? Remember, I said I'm going to crave your indulgence to participate in this class, answer questions, ask questions, contribute your experience, and share your lived experience. Because I mean, we are all project managers. Some of us in this room might have managed projects for 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, maybe even 40 years. And maybe we're just now deciding that we want to get that credential, to add that feather to our cap to say, okay, now I'm ready to write the PMP. But I have actually been managing projects as a professional for many years. So as a project professional, my first question to you is, why? Why bother? Why do you need to develop a common vision? Any volunteers? At some point, I'll begin to call names.
Hello, Susan. Actually, all the mics are closed. Do you want me to enable the microphone?
Okay, so we can allow mics. So I've allowed Claudia. Claudia, can you go ahead, please?
Hi, good evening, everyone. I will just take a wild guess, or based on my understanding, a common vision simply means that as the project team, we are working towards the common vision in terms of the project that we need to deliver. And that common vision has to align with the company's strategic goal, objectives, and missions. That's how I understand it.
Beautifully put. I have no additions. I want to hear a why as an addition. Victory, do you want to go? Let me unmute you. You can unmute yourself now, Victory.
You said you want to hear a why?
Yeah. Why is it important to share this vision with the team?
Okay. As we move on through the project from the beginning to the end of the project, is like we are trying to carry weight without an understanding of the common goal or the strategic objectives, instead of carrying the project forward, we are also carrying humans and their weight. So once we have these common goals being shared and we have common understanding of the strategic objectives of the business, it means that everybody's hands is plowed and we are helped carrying the project to where it would realize the objectives that the organizations have speculated. Instead of we carrying human beings, now we are carrying these objectives and we are delivering them, and everybody's hands is being joined in doing that. Thank you.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for that addition. I loved it. Beautifully put, both of us. So we have the reason why we establish a common vision to ensure that everybody understands the purpose of this project and the benefits that this project is going to deliver. And so if for any reason we're losing sight of this, it is the project manager's responsibility to draw the team back to the common vision that we all share. And this is a foundation for high-performing teams. High-performing teams are teams that are able to deliver on the work without so much friction, because they understand why they're doing what they're doing, and they have a shared ownership of the outcomes of that project. So everyone is not feeling like, oh, this is Susan's responsibility, that's Claudia's responsibility, oh, that's Victory's responsibility. No, it is our responsibility, and I have a share, I have a part in making sure that this project is delivered successfully. And so people take ownership of the work when they understand why it is that we are doing the work that we're doing. So how do we go about establishing and maintaining vision? Okay, how do we, because we've said, and Claudia has helped us to understand that this vision, if we articulate it, is what will make people to commit their time and their energy, right? People would be able to put in all of their efforts to achieving our project purpose because they understand the vision. So how do we communicate the vision? How do we summarize the purpose of our project in a way that people understand? Let's look at it very simply. There are some questions that our vision statement should answer. Our vision statement should say, what is the purpose? It should answer, what is the purpose of this project? And what defines work that was successful? How would we be able to define success at the end of this project? What will change? How would the future be better when this project outcomes are delivered? And if there's any deviation from our goals, how's the project team going to know that there's a deviation or we are drifting away from the vision? So a good vision statement will be able to answer these 4 questions. It summarizes the project with a powerful phrase, a short description that people can remember. It's easy for your team members to echo it back to you that this is the goal of our project. And it helps us to describe the best achievable outcome. And it is inspiring. It inspires passion for the projects, right? So when we have our project vision statement, this is the statement that it's not just to write down a statement and say, this project aims to achieve. So let's use an example, please. Can someone give us an example of what a vision statement could look like? You can choose any project of your choice, and you can give us your vision statement. So it could be a public health project, it could be a construction project, whatever project that comes to mind. Anybody want to try? Think about a project that you're currently running on, or you're currently delivering at the moment. Think about, how would you describe it to new team members joining the project? How would you tell them that this is what we're trying to achieve on this project. So let's say you want to build a house or an office building. What would you communicate to the team that we're trying to achieve on this project? There's no wrong answers or right answers. We just want to try it out because we want to test out some things. The first thing is creating the vision, right? Establishing the vision. So let's try that out. This is a practical class. Anybody? Somebody? Okay, I see some names. Guy. Let's allow Guy.
Good evening, everyone.
Yes, please. Good evening.
Okay, Temitope, you can go next. Let Guy go first.
For
Okay.
an example, as someone who is in the agriculture sector field, for an example for a given irrigation project, a vision statement can be as follow: to transform agricultural productivity through reliable and efficient water management system that support year-round farming, enhance climate resilience, and improve rural development. That can be a vision statement for an irrigation project that want to modernize agricultural productivity and enhance climate resilience through improvement of rural livelihood.
I love that. I love that vision statement because it does this. It uses a powerful phrase to summarize what the project is about. It's a lot of things that you're doing on that project, and you are able to capture it in one short sentence. And then it tells us what our outcome would be at the end of the day. It also paints a picture in the team's mind as to what they're trying to achieve, and it's also inspiring. So that's a good example. Thank you. Temitope, can you go next, please?
Good evening. So I maybe for someone who is in probably a real estate business, maybe you might want to say something like to with the something of choice. Let me try to say to create affordable housing, or let's say to create eco-friendly affordable housing. Maybe just something like that. To create an eco-friendly, affordable housing for all.
Beautiful. Thank you very much. So who is responsible for creating this project vision statement? This is done by the project sponsor. However, the person that is in charge of promoting this shared vision is you all, the project managers. And how do you promote the shared vision? What does that look like when you're promoting a shared vision? You have to use your interpersonal skills to ensure that your team members, they understand the vision, and they're being reminded of their role, the role that they have to play in bringing that vision to life. This is not something that when we commence the project, the project opening meeting, we have one statement to say, oh, this is the shared vision of the project, and that'll be it. No, it's not just at the kickoff meeting. You must continually communicate and remind people throughout the project to ensure that there is alignment on the project. And then you must be able to engage your different stakeholders to ensure that everybody is still in support of the project vision. Now, you might not get everybody. A side note there. You might not always have everybody in support of your project. You might not always have all your project stakeholders in support of your project. However, those that are not in support, you want to make sure that they are not the ones that can harm or mar the objectives of your projects, right? So people that, they are not so powerful, their power is not so high on the project, and their interest is low. You're not bothered so much about those kind of stakeholders. But if their interest is high and their power is also high, or their power or influence also high, you want to ensure as much as possible that those stakeholders are well understood and taken care of, their needs are addressed, and you are regularly engaging with them to make sure that they are still on the same page with us, or buy them over, convince them of why they should be embracing this shared vision. So what are some activities or exercises that we can do to ensure that everyone understands the vision? Let's look at two different exercises. I mean, we did one just now. We just mentioned, okay, what is a statement that we can use to summarize the value that this project is going to deliver? There's an exercise called a product box exercise. And basically, you want to look at if a customer of this project, at the end of the project, we're going to create this product. Now, what are we going to write on the body of the products? That will be your product vision. So doing that exercise with your team would be basically to say, I want us to be able to explain our desired outcome as in simple enough terms that we can market it. So if we're going to market that our house that we're building now, or if we're going to market the public health initiative that we're carrying out, what are the things that we would put on the flyer? What are the things we'll put on the product box, on the bottle, or whatever it is that we're reducing? So that's an exercise that we can use to create vision. Another exercise that we can use is an extreme programming metaphor. So in extreme programming, we basically help to describe the common vision of how the program works by using very simple common language and vocabulary. And this helps to remove, language barrier, because sometimes we might be so technical if we're going to explain the nitty-gritty. So maybe it's an oil and gas mining, or oil and gas drilling project, and the techniques that you're going to use to carry out that project are very technical. So we're not going to be describing the project vision by the technical aspects. We're going to be describing it by the value add that is seen by the customers. Now, there are some instances where your project vision might change or might evolve because of the market is changing, or the organization is having a new strategy, or there are some new developments in the business environment, maybe new laws, new policies. And so project managers, even though they were not the ones that formulated the project vision in the first instance, or they might have contributed to it, they need to be able to evaluate changing data and update and continuously refer to the project vision statement to say, are we still in alignment with our overarching goals? And do we need to change the goalposts for whatever reason? All right. Sorry, give me a second. Let me look at my slides. I think I missed something. Okay, I thought it was the second part that it was a no. We're good. We're good to go. All right. So sometimes, and it's good that we're talking about vision. It's good that we're talking about vision at the same time that we're talking about managing team conflicts, because vision is a very notable source of conflicts. I run a company called Xeno Consulting. Apart from trainings and PMP trainings that we offer, we also offer consulting services. And we basically help organizations to grow in 3 ways: projects, people, and their tools. And we had a strategy session at the beginning of the half year to discuss and understand what is our goal, what are our goals for the rest of the year, and then let everybody be able to articulate what the mission and vision of the company is, apart from what was already documented. If you were going to use your own words, what would you say the mission and the vision of the company should be, and stuff like that. So we did those kind of exercises, visioning exercises. And while the understanding might be similar or was similar, what we found out from that experiment was that several people had conflicting ideas as to how we ought to communicate that vision and mission. And so even though we had all started from a central point of this is the understanding of what Xeno Consulting as a business does and what value we offer, from their different departments, people saw the value in different ways, and they said, okay, this is what I see us doing, and this is the value I see us offering to our clients. What am I talking about? Why am I bringing this example? A lot of the times, the root cause of misunderstandings in our projects or in our teams is coming up because there's a misalignment of this our vision statement. And that is why, communicating this vision is a very important part. Now, apart from this misalignment of our vision statement, and people have lost sight of the shared vision, right? We want to check out what is happening, because what we will see is the symptoms. Yes, we might realize at the end of the day that it is because people have lost sight of the shared vision. But what we might be seeing on the surface is just that there was a scope creep, there was a missed deadline, a deliverable was submitted or it was delivered and it was rejected. So we want to understand what was the cause, what was the root cause. There are some persons that, and I'm going to show us a little diagram of what an Ishikawa or fishbone diagram looks like. Let me just Google it and share. Ishikawa or fishbone diagram is a root cause analysis technique that basically helps us to identify all the contributors to a problem. I like this diagram that has the fish head. Yes, let me share this tab instead and look at it. So can you see my screen, please? Okay. So basically, we're saying, okay, this is the problem. Let's say somebody failed the exam. That's not your portion, any one of us. But somebody failed the exam, that's the problem. What was the root cause? What are some of the causes, things that could have been happening? Could it have been the environment in which they took the exam? So maybe you took a virtual exam, and this is a precautionary, please, or it's a cautionary tale. So don't be this person, right? In all your exam preparations, ensure that you are not this person. So maybe you have been taking you opted to take the virtual exam, and you the proctored exam in your own house, right? And you forgot about your environment, that rain is going to fall and the internet is going to misbehave and it's going to kick you out, or that the time that you chose for your exam is the time that your children are just coming back from school and they're going to be shouting in the background, daddy, daddy, mommy, mommy, in the background, and that noise is going to raise flags and you'll be kicked out of your exam. That is environment. That could be a cause. Or could it be the measurement? Now, remember, I'm recommending that we all take the practice exams. Imagine that somebody take the practice exams from PMI study hall. Imagine that someone was taking practice exams from a site that probably was using PMBOK 7 or PMBOK 6, and they were passing, they were getting very good scores when they were doing those practice exams. Then they come to the real exam and they realize that, oh boy, the matter is not the same. So the measurements, the measurement that they used to measure their exam readiness was not a good measurement. It was a poor measurement, and that was one of the causes of the failure. Or maybe the materials that they were using to study wasn't sufficient. Or maybe they weren't using the updated materials to study. Or was it that the method of the study was not adequate? They just I know of, and sorry if you're on this call, forgive me, I'm not calling you out, but someone called me to say that they had taken the exam before and they didn't make it, and I know the person to be very intelligent and quite studious. So I asked, how are you preparing for this exam? And the person said, well, they took a course, 35 PDU course, and then they've been, reading, skimming through the PMBOK 8. And I said, oh, have you ever taken a full practice exam before the main exam? And the person said, no. I said, that's your problem right there. That's the problem right there. If you do not practice, because this is a scenario-based exam, it's not about your retention of the material you studied in PMBOK 8. So you can afford to read the entire PMBOK 8. And if that's your only method, best believe you won't be well prepared for this exam. So you have to include the method of actual practice exam, taking practice exams, and not just taking 10, 15, try and attempt 180 at a go. Now the exam is 185. They've added 5 more questions. Try and attempt that amount, and you'll see that you have to train your mental stamina. You have to train your body. It's not just even mental stamina, there's also physical stamina, because you will get tired. 4 hours sitting down for an exam. If you haven't taken a professional exam in a long time, then you would have the physical strain. So you need to prepare for it, just like if you're preparing for a marathon. You will not just start one day and run 24 kilometers. You kill yourself if you try it like that. So please, by all means, take this advice and ensure that all the things that could have caused a failure, you have sorted them out. For this environment one, I personally recommend that you take it in a center. If you must take it at home, ensure that you test beforehand your internet speed. Ensure that you're not using a company laptop, you're using a personal laptop. You've downloaded the system that is required to use the proctored exam, and you've ensured that you're going to be alone or not to be disturbed throughout the period of your exam. Make sure that you've settled all these things individually so that you do not have that problem of a failed exam. At this time, I'd like to take questions. I know I've been speaking for a while. Let me know if you have any thoughts, any questions, especially about the exam. Any concerns or worries? Nami, you can go.
Hello. Am I audible?
Hello. Yeah.
Am I audible?
Yes, please, go ahead.
I haven't managed to get any recordings. From our last session, you provided a PMI Africa page. I visited the page, but I haven't seen it. I don't know if I missed something or there's a way we can specifically get the recordings after the sessions. Thank you.
Mimi, I'll answer that. Thank you very much. I believe the recordings are on YouTube. So the PMI Sub-Saharan Africa page on YouTube has the recordings of all these webinars that we do. So this one is also being recorded and will be uploaded to the YouTube page. But Mimi, could you share a link with her if possible? Onismos, go ahead, please.
Okay, good evening. Can you also share a link for those mock exams? A link which is always live, not dying after some time. I share a live link which you can do the exams even 10 times, yeah, the way you want.
Okay, so thank you very much for that, Onismos. So for the PMI study hall, the ones I recommend is the one that you would purchase from PMI. Now there are short courses or short free resources that you can use as well. But why I'm recommending this PMI study hall is because the exam is changing, and it is only the people that set the exam that have the questions, right? So yes, study hall is going to be updated with the new questions that you're going to use to understand the real exam. And it will take a while for the new exam questions to get into the general market. So I would say let's focus on study hall, please. Is it a one-time payment? So there's one that is a subscription, and there's one that I think for 3 months or so. But it's not something that you would have forever. And by the way, why are you using more than 3 months to prepare for your exam? Don't hesitate. Book your exam dates and start preparing for this exam. I'm going to take your exam. Do not be scared. You're going to pass your exams if you do all the right things that we're showing in this Ishikawa diagram. Now, we make sure that our environment is sorted, make sure that our method is sorted, the person itself, you yourself that is writing the exam, are you sorted mentally, emotionally, spiritually too? So all of those factors, you get them in place. Tito.
So there are no free sites for even PMI members.
Mimi, do you want to answer that?
Sorry, can you come again? I was trying to.
He asked if there are free sites for PMI members to take practice exams.
Oh, no. Like study hall, it's true that the benefits will be because you're a member, the fee that you pay will be less as compared that if you are not a member. But yeah, there's no free site.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for the clarification. Tito, you can go ahead.
Yeah, good afternoon from Nigeria. Afternoon. Yeah. Okay, I just have a question. So I plan to write the new exam that is updated 9th of July.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, I wrote the last one. That was like I think 2 weeks ago, but I did not pass it. Like now, I just want to ask a question. What do you think? What you advise me to do? I plan to write it again this month, the end of this month. What would you advise? Like, steps to take and materials to read, since it's a new exam entirely. Not entirely, but a new exam that is much different from the last one.
Thank you very much for that question. This is exactly what we're talking about. So the first thing is you want to understand what was the root cause, because if you can understand the root cause, then you can go and fix what that problem was. So would you say from our description now, was it an environment problem? Because sometimes I've actually experienced that in I was writing a business analysis exam and I was at home and I think I was looking up like this and I was thinking of the answer, and the screen captured me not looking at the screen in that moment, and it immediately ended the exam. So there are several things that could happen. Your internet could go off, your power could go out, and it will take a while for them to, say it was a fair, like you need a fair retake, or a free retake. So that's one situation that could happen. It could be a machine problem, like with the AI proctors. It could be that the method of study, which is the most popular problem, that the method of study was insufficient. So, like the person I mentioned in my example, had you taken full-length practice exams? And if not, that is definitely something that you want to integrate into your new practice or your new study routine. And it is a lot of investment of time, even more than the money that you already spent in paying for your exam fees. The time that you have to spend in preparing for this exam, I will tell you, your time is better spent doing full-length practice exams than in doing what would I call it now? Reading cover to cover, the textbooks that we have. The new material, they're not it's not like there's new content per se that is coming out there in the PMBOK 8. Some of the things to notice are, instead of the 12 principles, we now have 6 principles. Instead of 49 processes, we now have only 40 processes. So it's compact. The same knowledge has been condensed into, new understanding. There are a few new terms, but your best bet is to do more practice exams than to try and study the material afresh. I hope that helps. All right, we'll take some more questions after the next session. Thank you everybody for your questions and your participation. Let's practice what we've learned so far. Okay. So do I have a volunteer that's going to help us with this part? Remember what I said? You're going to be the facilitator. So you can either read the question or you can ask someone else to read, and then people would give their answers and somebody would say why it was correct or why it wasn't correct. So who wants to be my co-facilitator for this part? Somebody? Anybody? Dennis. Let me unmute Dennis. Please go ahead.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, please. Thank you.
Okay. So do you want me to read the question?
So you can read the question and then you can ask someone else to.
All right. So during the sprint retrospective, the project manager realizes that the development team and the product owner have different interpretations of the definition of done for a critical feature, which has led to 2 failed interviews. What should the project manager do first? And my answer is B, that is facilitate a session to break down the situation and identify the root cause of the understanding.
Okay, I believe others agree with you because I can see the B's in the chats. All right, thank you very much. So Dennis, you can facilitate the next question, but you don't have to read. You can ask someone else to read. And also
Sure.
let someone explain, give some time for people to answer, then let someone explain why it is correct. Okay, let's do this one. Then if you can ask who wants to read.
Okay, please, who wants to read? The person can show the answer. Okay, Onesmus.
Okay. A project manager presents the project scope and deliverables to the stakeholders. During the presentation, two key stakeholders strongly disagree about the project scope and the overarching vision. What should the project manager do? Can I answer? Hello?
Since you get a question.
C. Brainstorm with the stakeholders to clarify the requirements.
All right, so does anybody want to explain why we chose C? I see a lot of C's as well for this one. Okay, I would answer that. So of course we want to ensure that we collaborate as often as possible. So when we brainstorm with our stakeholders to clarify our requirements, is part of the ways that we're able to ensure that the vision is still aligned and that people have a shared understanding of that vision. All right, we'll skip one question and we'll take this one. Okay, let's take this one. We need a new reader. Who's gonna be with us for this one? Please raise your hand.
Okay,
Nami. Okay, thank you. Dennis, go ahead.
Hi, Unami, you can read the question.
I think you have to unmute yourself, Nami.
Am I audible?
Yes.
Yes, you are.
Thank you. A team member asked why the project manager continually repeats the project vision statement at the start of every iteration planning meeting. What is the best justification for this? A, it is mandatory compliance regulation. B, to keep the vision current and ensure that the team's daily work remains aligned with business objectives. C, because the product owner is unavailable to do it. D, to replace the need for an iteration backlog. My answer would be B, shared vision.
Why?
The project manager has to continuously share the vision of the project to his or her team to make sure they are aligned to whatever to the project objectives and project goals.
Beautiful. Now, thank you very much, everyone, for your contributions. Thank you, my co-facilitator, Dennis. I appreciate it. So now it seems very simple, and I'm sure nobody's going to fill this type of question in the exam. It's going to be like, oh yes, we always repeat. But in your real projects back at home, how do you feel when you have to repeat yourself? Do you feel that these people, how many times do I have to tell you the same thing? Do you feel frustrated with your project teams when you're finding that you have to re-explain something that you have explained before? You feel like a broken record, Anamari says. Please, not only for the exam, but please have it on your heart as well that your project team will need reminders, and do not hold a grudge against them that you have to remind them. Gently and happily do so when they do need those reminders. All right, we're moving on to the next section, which is managing conflict, which will ensure that we have a lot of patience, we exercise a lot of patience with our team. But I'll give you one bonus answer for these questions, for questions that come out under this. And if you find a question that says, oh, your project team is having a problem or they're struggling with something, three of them are having an issue with something, you are not going to just step in and solve all their problems for them. You want to allow as much as possible for your project team to solve their problems within themselves, okay? Are these some of the questions that we're expecting with the new exam changes? Yes. So we got these questions from the PMI. I don't think this is a publicly available, is it? No, it's not. It's not a publicly available document. I got it from. It's from an ATP. So I'm one of the authorized training partners. And part of the material that they give us to use in teaching the classes, we have those questions there. So this is aligned with the 2026 syllabus, or the July 2026 syllabus, okay? But the questions might not be so easy, right? These are just so that we ensure that we understand. The questions would have typically more scenario, like they will paint a bigger picture, they will put in some more context. Some of it might just be filler situations that, you know, don't really, they don't get to the heart of the matter. They're just things that make the questions very long. All right, so let's talk about managing conflicts. Is it true that we can have a project where everything went smoothly? There are no conflicts at all. I would love to hear from somebody. Is it possible? Have you ever experienced a conflict-free project? Any contributions, please? Onesmus.
To me, all my projects, I think for the last almost 20 years, they're chaos.
Oh, they're all chaos. I was expecting that maybe you were going to say that you a conflict-free project. So nobody has had a conflict-free project. But as project managers, we are conflict resolution people. We are problem solvers, and that is so we're not afraid of conflicts. Conflict is inevitable. In fact, by the nature of what a project is, that we are delivering a new reality. We are bringing deliverables that did not exist before to an environment that has been doing things a certain way. You must expect that there will be conflicts. And Mary, you want to add to this conversation, please? Sorry, let me unmute you. Let me allow Mike so you can unmute yourself. Thank you.
Thank you. I laughed at that. Chaos. It's the nature of a project manager's game, if I can say that. Conflict arises in various scenarios with executive management, with users, across the board. Sometimes you do get smooth running projects if you've got an excellent team, especially with senior members. But what I've noticed recently is what we refer to as our Gen Z generation with our Gen X and our baby boomers. There's the conflict that you need to manage between that age gap is a significant challenge. So I agree with my colleague here that chaos can be traumatizing sometimes.
But you're used to it. You must have developed some thick skin around it now.
Very, very, very thick skin. A project manager for like 10 plus years now. So yeah, it's
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that with us, Anna Mari. So we're not now saying how do we avoid conflict. That's not the conversation. The conversation is, okay, so how do we even, first of all, let's even identify where the conflict is coming from. Same thing as we did with the what was it now? Understanding the root cause of misunderstandings and then doing a root cause analysis, right? Apart from Ishikawa, there's the 5 whys. We basically ask why 5 times until we get to the fundamental reason why there was a misaligned vision. So similar thing when we're looking at, okay, there's a conflict, there's a disagreement. And please do not let your mind roam and think that we must get to the point of throwing blows and fists. And I don't know if any of us here is a boxer. It must not get to that point before we say there's a conflict. As simple as a disagreement in opinion is a conflict. But where is it coming from? We've identified one of the sources as when we have a misunderstanding or a misalignment of project vision is one of the sources of conflict, right? So we could also have competition within our projects. We could have communication breakdown. We could have a scarcity of resources or equipment. One project needs the equipment, another project team also needs the same equipment. We are fighting for scarce resources. There could be a scheduling conflict or a scheduling constraint that we're trying to get. Oh, I'm not available. Oh, who is not going to do the job? Oh, no, I'm not available. There could be a situation where the scope is changing or the requirements are not clear. Now, we would have loved that the requirements will always be clear. And whenever I have to deal with whenever I have to deliver projects with people who do not have project management experience, so for example, something as simple as a website, and they're like, oh, but all the requirements should have been created from the onset before we even embarked on this project. And I'm smiling as I'm patiently trying to explain to them that, yes, we had the fundamental requirements, but the customer needs change. In fact, the customer will not even know what they need until they see the first iteration. And that happens sometimes, that the requirements evolve because of the developments that are happening within the project. Or maybe you have stakeholders that have different perspectives, or like Mary said, then different generations. So they see the world in a different way. And they have a different work ethic, or they have a different working style. Yes, I'll answer that question, Anna-Mary. And then you can have, differences in objectives, differences in values, or, oh, my work, this is my work, and this is where my work ends, this is where my work begins. This could be different sources of conflict. Let's, before we talk about how do we analyze the context of the conflict, sorry, I missed the word there. Let's talk a little bit about, let me answer this question for a bit. Would you say the study hall questions are a good reflection of the actual exams, or will the exams be more difficult? I have had feedback from my students to say that the study hall questions are more difficult than the actual exams. So they found the actual exam questions simpler than the study hall. I would say that you want to give yourself a target of about 85% for the first time you attempt a full set of questions. So if you do study hall, you would do the full set of questions. Kyo, do you wanna shed some more light on that? You want to contribute to that? Have you experienced that? I don't want to shut down your experience, so you can share your experience with us. Could you raise your hand so I can find you and unmute and allow your mic if you're available to speak? Okay. Kyo, no pressure, just to share your experience. What have you seen or heard, or what's the experience been like? All right. That's okay if you're not able to share your experience right now. But I would say that the feedback from my students, because I've been recommending this for a long time now, and the feedback has been that the questions are more difficult than the actual exam. And I would say, wouldn't you prefer that you actually face a simpler exam when you go in to sit for the exam? All right, let's move back and talk about when we analyze the context of the conflict. Basically, we want to see how deeply the conflict is affecting the team. We want to we would prefer and we would like it that the conflict is remaining as level 1, that it is still a problem to solve, right? According to Speed Billy's levels of conflict, that it's just, both of us, we came together to discuss, there's a problem we need to solve. So we come together and we are discussing it, and we're not seeing ourselves as enemy yet. And then the second level is that there's a disagreement. There is a problem to solve, but I think we should do it this way. You think we should do it this way. But we're still working together. We're still feeling like we want to solve this problem, right? But we have difference of opinion. In contest, we now are no longer working together. We are now saying, me, I want to do this my way because I have this goal that I want to achieve, while this other person has another goal that they want to achieve. And we get to a point where people are either, when you say fight or flight, it might not always be resorting to physical altercations. It might just be that, there's a heated conversation, and there's a disagreement that has become a situation where we are either being stubborn-headed about having our way or leaving the conversation completely. And then 5 is the intractable situation, which probably could have resulted in a blue. Anyways, what are the resolution strategies that we could implement? Now, remember I said earlier that as a servant leader, an agile team lead, which the exam right now, this new exam it used to have 50% hybrid and agile questions, 50% predictive. But now this new exam is 60% agile and hybrid and 40% predictive. So you are, in most cases in the exam, going to be looking at the project manager as an agile project manager or an agile coach, and that is the view that you want to have of the project. And so if you ask the question about how you want to resolve a conflict on your project, look for the answer that is saying that your project team should resolve it by themselves first. However, there are predictive methods of conflict resolution, especially in business environments where there is inherently more conflict than usual. So maybe you're in a type of project where you are always having to go and address external stakeholders, and there's pushback from community that you're going to meet, and your team now has a resource or a ground rules for how you approach such conflict or manage such conflict with your stakeholders. Now, in some adaptive teams, they would have some conflict management strategies in a document called Our Ways of Working. Now, it might not be, from company to company, it might be called something different. I think I worked in a company that's, what did we call it? We basically had a simple Confluence page saying, this is how I work. Like, this is the way that I prefer to work. So at a goal, you had like the ways of working of everyone on the project team. And agile teams or adaptive teams can have something of this nature, or something like a team agreement that basically includes the strategies that we will take to mitigate any conflict that comes up in the team. regardless of the conflict management technique that we are employing, we want to focus on the issue and not the individual. Of course, I don't imagine that we're going to be focusing on any individual in the exam hall, but this is a good reminder for our real life projects. So now that we've talked about general approach to managing conflict, let us look at the 5 different approaches that PMI recommends. So the first one is we smooth or accommodate. And it's not to say that there's one that is the best. Because if you would ask, maybe someone would say, oh, collaborate and problem solve is the best. But is the best in what situation? If the other person has already escalated to the point where they are throwing fists, I don't think we are still at the point where we can be collaborating and problem solving. You probably would need to avoid or withdraw from the situation, retreat from the situation, leave to fight another day, right? So it's not just to say, oh, this is the best solution for all types of conflict. No, you have to look at where are we in this conflict so that we know the best solution to use. And I'll talk about when should we use each of these solutions. So we use the smooth or accommodate method of conflict resolution when we usually use it in hand with the force and direct. I don't know if my cursor is on. How do I put that on so you can see what I'm pointing at? So this blue one here, the smooth and accommodate, you use it at the same time as you use force and direct. So one party is forcing their viewpoint on at the expense of others, and the other party is accepting or accommodating or smoothing. In what kind of relationships can this conflict resolution method apply? When one person has a legal right over the other person, some form of seniority over the other person, or they are holding the cards in this relationship. So maybe we want to enter into a new business agreement where, a vendor is trying to persuade the buyer to enter into this agreement, and this kind of cutthroat prices, and they say, no, we want, if you give us this price, this is the price that we will accept. As simple a conflict as that we're deciding on the price of a good or a service, is a situation where we can say one party is forcing or directing while the other party is accepting or accommodating. Now, why will this party accept or accommodate? Why? Because probably they know that they want to maintain a harmonious relationship. It might not always be something that the other party would necessarily be at such a disadvantage, but they are allowing the other party's way to go. We're allowing the other person to have the upper hand, just because we want to maintain our friendship or maintain our relationship, or maybe maintain our marriage. So it's not always that we are collaborating and problem solving. Sometimes the other person just allows the other person to win. So this is a win-lose kind of conflict resolution outcome. It could also be, a law enforcement officer and a normal citizen, stuff like that. Now, we've talked about when you should withdraw or when you should avoid the situation. When it has escalated beyond what you can handle right now, let the temper calm down first before you decide to say, let us have a peaceable conversation. Then we have compromise or reconcile. Compromise or reconcile is a lose-lose outcome. It's a lose-lose outcome because in as much as we want to get several viewpoints and we are open to dialogue, we are reaching a consensus. I am having to give up something I want. The other party is having to give up something that they want, because we want to reach a consensus. My absolute favorite here, although it cannot apply in every situation, is the collaborate and problem solve, because in this kind of situation, both of us are on equal grounds, and we are both looking for a situation or a solution that appeals to our interest, our common interest. So we are joining forces together to solve the problem. So we're not looking at ourselves as one person must win for the other person to lose. We are both going to win. So out of this conflict management approaches, the problem solving one is the one that is the win-win. Compromise is lose-lose. Force and direct is win-lose. Smooth accommodate is lose-win. Withdraw is lose-lose. All right. Any questions? We're moving forward. Of course, you need some interpersonal skills to manage conflict. And this part, I would like to hear from us. What are some of the ways that you have used your human judgment? You didn't use ChatGPT. You didn't ask co-pilots how to solve this problem. There was a conflict within your team, and you were able to use your emotional intelligence to diffuse the situation. Can I have some contributions to the conversation, please? All right, I'll have Onesmus go first, but I'd love to hear from someone else as well. So please raise your hand if you'd like to contribute. Onesmus, please go ahead.
Okay, I think for me, what I've been trying to do normally is to create confidence in my stakeholders so that they believe in you from the word go. And you always let them speak first. All of them, they speak. Then you listen keenly. Then you ask them, what do you think is the best solution? You give them first the pressure that you want them to have the solution before you come in. So after gathering what they want, then now if you come in as an arbitrator or someone who now wants to be in the between them, I think they'll accept you because you are not taking sides. Yeah, that's the only way I've dealt with them, to try and let them have their own solutions. Because at the end of the day, things must move on. But if you want to show that you know everything, that you're the one who is in charge, then they will not give you the chance to lead them. That's my way.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. Anybody else want to contribute to this conversation? Sometimes you are not even the leader. The people don't report to you. Yet the project is your project. You are the project manager on the project. But the people that are part of the project team, they are senior to you, or they are your peers. Have you had this experience when there is conflict with your stakeholders? How have you resolved it, and what did you use? Which of these skills, these interpersonal skills, did you use to manage conflict? Tell me about it. I'm seeing some names that are new here. I haven't seen them before. Hi, Amon. Let me allow your mic. Please join the conversation.
Good evening or good afternoon, depending on where you are. So for my end, my projects are, in which part I can describe them in the course, but they involve even people from different countries, because we have a lot of vendors that for our tech, we use a lot of vendors that are outside Zambia. So, and then most of the time, the project requests or things that I have to work on come from senior management, right? And there would be situations where if the project is coming from the head of sales or it's coming from directly from the managing director himself, there'll be situations where he doesn't agree with certain things. And I believe for me, what I do is I use assertive learning, especially when I am dealing with someone I know is more senior than me. I personally like calling it delegating upwards. I want to fully understand where they are coming from, what their points are, and where if there's resistance from the other side, where that resistance is coming from, and try to find the middle ground where all of us can exist and at the end move forward or find a compromise from both parties to be able to ask for us to be able to move forward. I always get questions like, you are an employee of us first, whenever I sort of side with the vendor. So you need to be aligned to the company's objectives before you, but then I also understand that there are aspects from the other side that my team needs to understand. So when I get their understanding, the vendors understanding very well, I get the leaders understanding very well, whoever it is that is in the meeting, the project owner that is, I'll get their understanding and then I'll try to find a middle ground.
Thank you so much for sharing that with us. So we've I think we have one in the chat. Anna Marie says that we ensure that you stay neutral and ensure you acknowledge all stakeholders. I think we've mentioned from our examples how we've used emotional intelligence, how we've influenced people even when we are not their superiors, how we've been able to use leadership to move people in the right direction. I'd like to hear some more examples, especially of decision making. Sometimes if you leave a situation for everybody to have a say, we are not going to move forward. We are just democracy. Everybody will have a say and we're not going to make a decision, we'll not move forward. What has been your approach? What has worked for you? Share with the team if you don't mind. Who would like to contribute? My brother Felix from Port Harcourt, are you still with us? Oh, King, yes, please. I don't see. Mimi, could you help me unmute King? I'm trying to find. I see his hand is raised, but I can't find his mic to unmute.
Hello, King. You can open your mic.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, okay. All right. For starters, thanks. I did wrote my exam last week and it was good. So thanks. So I think there are some points in my handling of project that I've had to use veto power, as you call it. And it's not because I don't respect opinions of others or I don't want to be a servant leader, but there are cases where you're pressed for time and you have a deadline to deliver and you just have to make a decision. You consider all the factors, right? I have to, or let me use myself. I'm listening to everybody, consider the factor, but consider all opinions and have to go with what I know or what I believe, because as project managers, we also have some level of expertise as well, So sometimes there are cases where you're pressed for time, going around and taking opinions and trying to collaborate and might also be taking more time, which is not going to be to your advantage overall in the best interest of the project. You just have to make a decision, right? So I've been in cases where I've had to make decisions, especially when we're pressed for time, because I work in a place where every dollar counts. So every second means $1. And so if in those cases, you don't want to spend, you want to be able to think on your feet and take decisions and stand by those decisions.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for that addition. All right. Any other contributions? Onesimus, you wanted to add to that? Or is this an old hand?
Yeah. I think I need to also weigh on that, but I don't agree with him fully, because in the new approach of the 8th edition, it's more of a collaborative approach. Those eras of forcing things are now gone. As one of us said, that the new Gen Zs are very volatile and they can even escape and leave the project and go away. So it's now. So I think now things are different. Yeah, let's try and accommodate everybody. Don't use force like the old days that things must move. Better get late, but do it. Yeah.
Okay, so there is a balance there, because yes, we want to collaborate as much as possible, but there is still room in the version 8 that there are some times that we're not taking a unanimous decision. We're actually still having to use veto powers. And so decision making is one of the responsibilities and one of the skills that the project manager needs to utilize. And Amari, you want to add to this conversation?
Yes, please. I want to validate my comment. The reason why I said stay neutral and acknowledge all stakeholders is I work across cross-functional teams, so across the board. And it's you're going to work with various stakeholders on various projects, and you need to ensure that you I'm going to put it in sort of blunt terms. You need to keep people in your good books, so to speak, because you are the project manager. And at the end of the day, yes, you manage the team. You have to make decisions in order to get the ball rolling. However, there is a possibility that should you use a forceful approach in your next project, you're going to end up with blockages. So that is why I say, as much as possible, stay neutral. Of course, use persuasion where you can and take decisions based on your leadership powers that you have. And then escalation is my very, very last resort. Yeah. However, because I work in an industry where I have to work with all different teams within my division, I have to ensure that I remain impartial at all times. So I'm not seen as taking sides. I am merely ensuring that everyone is collaborating, working together. And that is why I say acknowledge all stakeholders, but you don't necessarily have to agree with everything. Thanks, Susanna.
Thank you. So for avoidance of doubt, most of the questions that would come with conflict management, the answer would most likely be that you allow your team to sort it out themselves. However, let's talk about some conflict management principles. We've said that when people disagree, it doesn't mean that they do not want to work or that they just want to be difficult. In fact, it is a good sign. It's a sign that people care. They wouldn't share a different opinion. They would just accept if they don't care. They would just be anything that you want to do, just do. But when they care about our shared vision, they want to think about the best way to achieve those outcomes. And so when people share their understanding, right, that I want us to do it this way, it's a good outcome. And so how do we manage this difference of opinions within our projects? Well, let's talk about some things. We're disagreeing with ideas. When someone, to be honest, there are some stupid ideas. I know some people will say, oh no, there are no stupid questions, there are no stupid ideas, but you've managed projects long enough and you've heard some crazy things. You know that there are some stupid ideas. However, when you tell someone that, oh, I don't think we'll be applying that right away. Thank you very much for your contribution. We disagree with the idea, but not with the person. We don't want to disagree on a personal level. We don't want to go attacking somebody to say, that's how you're always, why is your own always different? Why are you always going left? Everybody's going right, you're going left. Why? So we don't want to, although you might feel like that, but we don't want to have, we don't want to have that view with our team members. When we raise issues, we want to ensure that people they're confident to raise issues that happen in the projects early enough, right? They don't feel, because if nobody's going to listen to them, people will not speak up. The reason why people are speaking up in your team, where there's, it's probably because you're not running a totalitarian government. There's free and fair conversation being had in the rooms. And so you can now have decisions, whether together or whether unanimously or one person taking the votes. You can be able to decide that this is the reason why we came to this decision. Now, when you have conflict resolution within your team, you can agree on these principles beforehand. Before the conflict starts, you already say, this is how we are going to address conflict if they come. And even with your external stakeholders, you want to also set expectations. You want to explain that, yeah, it's natural for us to have a little bit of a back and forth. And it's part of the review. You're doing a project for a client, and they have their own their own way of seeing things, and that's different. The project, you have your own way of seeing things, so that back and forth is expected. And we want to also establish some ground rules, because this creates an atmosphere of trust. And in fact, because we have the ground rules, people know that their opinion is going to be respected, that they can share their opinions, they can communicate directly. If they have a grievance against someone, against the process that we are taking, they can speak up against it. One of the documents that we can use to do to establish ground rules is something called a team charter. And whether it's a predictive or an adaptive project, we want to have a team charter that is created together by the team. So when we're having our team forming meetings, we are discussing, oh, these are our shared values, these are the ways that we're going to behave. This is how we are going to communicate with each other. We use Slack, we don't use WhatsApp. We don't send emails by midnight. We don't do, ad hoc calls in the middle of the weekend. We don't, we have this performance expectation. This is the standard people must meet. If there are conflict resolution, if there's conflict, this is the way it will be resolved. These are the meeting times. Everybody must be prompt. Any team agreements. Right? One of our team agreements on this conversation, in this training for today, we said we want to contribute as much as possible. Raise your hand and we would unmute your mic and then you can speak. And so, every team that comes together should have an agreement for how we're going to behave and how we're going to communicate with each other. It's very important. Now, if there are some ground rules that are being violated, how can we work through that? You must be able to establish an environment that people want to adhere to the common rules. So the project manager is the one that's going to be reminding people that this is what we agreed to do. We all agreed that we're going to do this. So please do not flout the rules. And then, of course, organizations would, resort to escalations if there's people that have gone, out of the rules, and probably the rule books are, a replication of what is in the company guidelines, and those people have to be disciplined. Why do we have to talk about conflict management? Well, a simple issue, a simple conflict could lead to destructive behavior within the team. People keeping enemies within, project teams and within the organization. And of course, this would ultimately lead to poor performance, reduced productivity. I don't know if any of us have ever experienced a project that derailed completely because of the way that we handled the situation. Anybody? I've heard of a project where one of the key decision makers was not available at the time that some decisions were being made. And when the person returned, the person overruled the decision that was made in the past, and the project was scrapped, even though some monies had been spent and the project had already started in earnest. So I don't know if there's any experience like that where something that a good conversation, let us just sit down, have some coffee, and come to an agreement together. No, we got to a position where either somebody was throwing blow, or a situation where we're like, we never want to work with this person ever again. Let us both go our separate ways. Is it possible? Can such things happen if we don't manage the conflict well? Or it's never that serious. It's never that serious. Conflicts, the worst that will happen is that, you just allow the person have their way. The project can never degrade to that situation. Anybody have any thoughts on this? All right. If there are no contributions, okay, Amon, go ahead. Is it Amon or Amon?
I always say, if you went to private school, it's Amon. If you went to government school like me, it's Amon.
Okay. Go ahead.
So from my end, I've had situations like that. A particular example that I can draw to is actually something very recent. Is where the end users of a particular change that we were doing in the system, in our system, wanted some particular parts to also be included in what they wanted to do, despite that not being present in the requirements documents that we had reviewed with the vendors. So the vendor then pushed back to me to say, look, we didn't have this in your requirements document. And besides, we already have this existing in a different part of in the system. So now there was an aspect of where the end users now came back to me and say, okay, look, if you guys think, if you guys know better, then you finish the project on your own. You do all the testing and whatever you deploy is what we are going to do. We are stepping away. If you don't want to do it our way, we are stepping away. Otherwise, we want this to be done like this. We don't want to be logging into multiple platforms to be able to get information that we can simply put on one platform. And that was a bit of a headache to resolve. But eventually, someone had to give in. I think there was a part where the previous slides you brought up where you were talking about decision making. I think that was one of the situations where the managing director got involved and he left the decision to me. It's okay, look, what you're going to decide to do is what everyone should follow. If you say there's already something existing, let's launch this the way it is, then that's fine. If you're saying we should go back and redo the requirements and allow the vendor to put what they want, let's give that instruction to the vendors as well. And at the end of the day, we managed to resolve, unfortunately or fortunately. So like one of my sisters has said, you have to remain impartial. So I don't know if it was a win for me or a loss, but we ended up keeping the two things separately just to manage the cost, because the other direction would have required me spending more money on that project.
Thank you so much for sharing that, Amon. So we see that it's very important that we take these considerations in how we manage conflict, because it can escalate and we can spend a lot of time and effort and money, and wasted effort is so much more painful than wasted money. I don't know if it's the same for you, but it's like you spend all this time trying to do something and all of a sudden it's a waste. So if we exercise some effective conflict management techniques, that we can have improved understanding, better performance, higher productivity. In fact, according to the Tuckman ladder of team development, it is after a team member or team members have had an opportunity to storm, to have conflict and resolve that conflict, that is when they work even better together. That's when their relationship tightens, the bonds are stronger. So conflict is not something that we want to run away from, but we want to be very careful to ensure that we manage the resolution very well. That brings us to the end of the subject matter for today. Let's do some exercises, some questions, to see that we actually understand what we've discussed. I would ask for a co-facilitator for the question parts, please. Any volunteers? I'd like someone who hasn't spoken today. You don't have to read. You can just be choosing somebody else to read, but just facilitate for us. Who is interested in that? Please raise your hand. I'll suggest a few names that I'm seeing here. Ibrahim, are you here with us? John is in my class. John, when is your exam? Okay, thank you. I believe this is Felix Apotu. You can unmute yourself, please.
All right, good evening.
Good evening. Thank you very much. So you can either read or you can ask someone else to read, and then we'll discuss the answers.
You don't want me to answer after reading?
You can go ahead, read and answer.
All right. So 2 members of a project team have differences in opinion on how they should complete a task. The conflict has not yet escalated to the project manager, and there is currently no negative impact to the project schedule. What should the project manager do? I will just go to my choice anyway. I will choose answer C. Allow the project team members the opportunity to resolve the conflict themselves. Thank you.
I also agree that we want to allow the team members to resolve the conflict by themselves. Let's go to the next question. Do we have another reader, please? Marion, are you with us? Okay, Felix, are you still raising your hand, or is an old one?
I guess that's an old one.
Okay. Olabanji, let me see if I can find you to unmute your mic. Okay, I found you, Olabanji. Olabanji, please unmute and read.
Okay. Good evening, everyone.
evening.
Okay. A team member consistently interrupts others during meetings and uses accusing language, violating the team's agreed upon code of conduct. What should the project manager do to manage this situation? A, immediately escalate the issue to human resources. B, remind the team member of the mutual agreement in the ground rules and coach them privately. C, use the force direct method to remove the team member from the project. And D, ignore the behavior to maintain a smooth relationship with the team member.
What's your answer?
Of course, B. Remind the
All
team
right.
member of the mutual agreement in the ground rules and coach them privately.
Okay, thank you. Who's going to read for us the next one?
Can I read?
Yes, go ahead.
A conflict arises over a minor schedule adjustment. To resolve it quickly, the project manager emphasizes the areas where the two parties agree and downplays the areas of difference to maintain team harmony. Which conflict resolution techniques is being used? My answer is B, collaborate, problem solve. But wait, I'm not, let me try again. Is C, smooth, accommodate? Yeah.
So with smooth and accommodate, remember that it works hand in hand with force and direct. So if one person is smoothing and accommodating, that means the other party is forcing and directing. So in this case, both of them are collaborating, even though it is the project manager that says, oh, we're not going to talk about the areas of difference. We're only going to talk about the areas where we agree. That's they are now going to agree on that one and say, okay, how do we solve the problem together since we're in agreement? So the answer for this one would be B. I know that smoothing sounds like, oh, we're just doing everything. I know it sounds like it, but smoothing and accommodating usually goes hand in hand with forcing and directing. It just means that we're accepting a loss because we are trying to maintain relationship. Okay, we have 2 more questions before we close. I will read this one. According to conflict management models, what characterizes a level 1 conflict? A, an intractable situation where parties are completely embittered. B, a scenario where individuals personally attack each other. C, a task-oriented disagreement that is viewed as a problem to solve. And D, a dispute requiring immediate executive intervention. Answers, please. Answers, please. Have we put our answers in the chats for this new question? Do we remember the slide that we talked about level 1 conflict? Let me go to it. So that's level 1, a problem to solve. Did we get that one? All right. So the answer would be C, a problem to solve. All right. Our final question for today. If you have any questions, you still have 5 minutes. We can answer your question. Please let us know if you have any questions about the exam, about the content of what we've discussed today. Okay, so the last question. How do highly functional, psychologically safe agile teams typically view conflict and disagreement? Do they view it as a destructive force that must be avoided at all costs? Do they view it as a sign that the Scrum Master is failing? Do they view it as an opportunity for innovation, encouraging healthy exchanges of ideas? Or do they view conflict and disagreement as an intractable situation requiring the sponsor's intervention? I want to believe that all of us would view conflict and disagreement as an opportunity for innovation, encouraging healthy exchange of ideas. That brings us to the end of our session for today. Thank you very much for joining us. If you have any questions, okay, Anamari, do you have a question? Olabanji, do you have a question?
Yes, I do. I'll make it quick. I noticed that I did get one question wrong. Would you recommend process of elimination during the exam?
Of course.
Okay, thank you. I see that seems to work the best.
Definitely. So you're having to face the two that you're sure that, they could be the answer. Olabanji, your question, please.
Okay, thank you. I was supposed to write my exam yesterday, but unfortunately there was a technical issue. I couldn't write it. It was an online schedule anyway. So I'm waiting for them to get back. So apparently I'm supposed to write this month, maybe next 1 week or thereabout. So I want to know, since the echo has changed, and I can see that it's not that much, it's not significant. But I want to know, can I still stick to the study or is there any other material there apart from the normal ones that we're used to? Because I can, especially the one that I need help on now is the way the new what's it called? The answer, the new questions that's just introduced. Those 3 types of questions whereby they give you a scenario and they give you like 5 questions to answer based on the scenario.
Okay, so my recommendation, because what PMI would do, ideally, especially if they say, they agree that it's a technical issue and you're allowed to retake without paying any money, you'll still be allowed to choose a new date. You wouldn't be forced to take it at any date. They would give you a new date.
I'm talking about the material to use now.
Study hall is still your best bet. The study hall has already been updated and will still be updated with more content for the new exam, and it is the most reliable source of examination content for the exam. Are we expecting? Congratulations, Mohammed. Congratulations to all of us that passed our exams that joined the session today. Thank you very much for joining and for sharing your testimony. Rose, yes, we are expecting to see some graphs, and it'll be simple graphs. They'll just be simple graphs to ask you what's happening here, or like things like burn down charts or burn up charts to say, okay, how many items or story points are left on the chart, or have we gotten further than we should have gotten or whatnot. It's not going to be very mathematical, okay? It's just going to be to show that we understand what these graphs are saying. Afua has a question, and sorry for going over time a little bit. Let's just answer our questions, please. So where a situation where a team has had numerous unresolved conflicts and is now functioning poorly, what strategy would the PM take to get them back on track? You would do some team bonding exercises, and we would have deliberate efforts to understand the other person's or the other party's points of views. We don't want to sweep things under the rug and think that they're not going to come back up. They will come back up and bite us. So we want to, as possible, no matter how late it was in the process, we want to make sure that we have a situation, you sit down with the team, we discuss, oh, this is how we do things, this is why I do my things the way that I do it. And then you see the human side of the people you're working with. And it's not done in a day. It's not something that immediately all of us will start becoming friends, but at least we would have a better understanding of each other and would be able to tolerate each other better, first of all. And then at some point we can now have a high performance in the team. Any other questions? I promise I'm not holding us hostage. If you still need to take your 35 contact hours, you've not yet done that, you can reach out to us, reach out to my team. I'm going to share my WhatsApp number so you can send me a message if you need some guidance. And my LinkedIn is Susanna Ozenugu. Susanna Ozenugu on LinkedIn, and you can connect with me on LinkedIn. All right, I'll hand over back to Mimi if there are no other questions. Thank you, everybody, for joining us today.
Thank you very much, Susan. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I guess it's the only words that we can say because of this excellent delivery. So sad that it takes only 2 hours, but we hope to have you back in our upcoming sessions. Thanks for always responding to our invite and being there to support our esteemed candidates. Thanks everyone for also joining. I've shared in the chats the link to the YouTube page where you can get the recordings of all our previous session. This session will also be uploaded very soon, so just stay connected. I'm sharing again the link to our YouTube page. And yes, let's get connected. As you know, you can get in touch with Susan if you have any question. On these notes, I would like to wish you a good night or a good end of day, and see you very soon. And all the best to those who are writing before our next meeting. Share your victory on LinkedIn. Please don't forget to tag PMI Africa and also Susan, and we'll also join you to celebrate your PMP exam. Bye-bye and take care. Thank you, Susan. Bye-bye.